Hello, hi, and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Sarah, and this is Wicked Reading. So it is Saturday, and we're gonna start a new vlog today. I just spent so many hours doing my hair. I was supposed to have a hair appointment with my sister-in-law today, but unfortunately she got really sick, so she canceled, and I'm too impatient, so then I just did it myself. So I had to like bleach my roots and do the back, and I did kind of like miss some spots. It didn't lighten as much as I wanted it to at the roots. You can't tell too much, but that spot did not pick up any pink, but it's okay. She might kill me because I did use box dye on the back. Sorry. I don't plan on lightening my hair anytime soon, so hopefully it's okay. Anyway, so what's the plans for this vlog? I have some plans and other things are not planned. So I do at least have the books planned, at least mostly planned. I just finished my reread of Bunny by Mona Awad. Even better the second time reading it. Loved the reread. And now I'm in a weird girl literature moment, and I want to read some more weird girl lit. So we're gonna do that by reading Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. I did start this. I'm not gonna talk about it right now. I'm gonna come back later for a reading update, but I did start this. So going into this, all I knew was that it had to do with a photographer that took pictures of men in very compromising positions, and that's kind of really all I know / knew. I haven't really learned any more information yet. So that's pretty much what I went in with. I don't know if it's going to get increasingly more unhinged. I don't know what direction this book goes in, but I'll talk about my reading update later. So definitely reading that. And then finally, this has been featured too many times on my channel without me actually reading it, and that is Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. I'm finally doing it. It was specifically requested for me to vlog this because all I know is it's very weird and something with aliens, and that's it. I just hear it's one of the most bizarre books ever. It's a fever dream, whatever. So I have no idea what to expect with this one other than confusion. So I'm excited to get into it, but I wanted to kind of start a little bit softer. Maybe this is a softball, who knows? I don't know, but wanted to start with this one. I may or may not read a third book. We will see how long it takes me to read those two, and if I have time to read another book between me finishing those books and the date that I have planned for this to be uploaded. We'll see. I have a lot of books to choose from. I have quite a few other weird girl lit books that I am highly anticipating and I really want to read. So we'll talk about that if we get to that point. So otherwise, that's the reading plans, life plans. Since I just spent so much time, like hours doing my hair, I want to go out. I want to leave this house. I think I need some retail therapy. One of my local bookshops, it's like a used bookshop, they will post their new arrival books that they received. And on Friday, yesterday, or it might have been Thursday, either one day or 2 days ago, they posted their new arrivals, and it had a couple books in there that I really want that have been on my TBR for a long time. And yes, I was slowing down my book buying, but this is for like a used bookstore. It's a small business. These books have been on my TBR for a minute, so I feel better about finally buying these versus like books that I just found out about that I really want to read. So yeah, I'm gonna stop there. Hopefully they still have them. It's been a few days, so they might not have them anymore. We'll see. And then since I'll be out, I'll probably stop at like TJ Maxx or something. I can't really leave the house and only go to one store. I need to make it a whole thing. That's who I am as a person. So we're doing a little outing, and then we're gonna come back here, sit down and read, give you a reading update for Boy Parts, and see what other stuff we get into. I'm sure there'll be some unboxings in here. That's all I have for you guys right now. So I'm gonna go shop. back from shopping and I came home to some mail. So, haul and unboxing time. I stopped at my little used bookstore and they did still have the book that I wanted, and it is Confessions by Kene Minato, maybe? This has to do with a either like a woman or a teacher or both. And I think either her son or daughter dies or is killed, and the book is kind of following this woman trying to get to the bottom of it and interviewing schoolmates, something like that. But I know it gets like increasingly more unhinged. So this has been on my TBR, like on my Goodreads digital TBR for a very long time. So when I saw that they got it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go try to get it. So they did have it. So this was the book that was the reason I went. So I was happy I got that. And then since I was there, of course, I had to get a couple other ones. So then they also did have Eileen by Otessa Moshfegh. This is going to be my third Otessa Moshfegh. She has yet to give me a 5-star book. I know that this is, I think that this is her most unhinged woman story, but I don't really know. I've read My Year of Rest and Relaxation, which I did like. I think I gave it 3.5, and then Death in Her Hands, which was okay. Like, I appreciated it, but I gave it 3 stars. So here's another one. Whether or not I do or don't like this, I will probably still also eventually read Latvona. For whatever reason, I cannot give up attempting to read Otessa Moshfegh despite me not having an above 3.5 from her yet. But they had this and it was $8, so I picked it up. And then these two are kind of random, but they had some old vintage beat up copies of some Stephen King books, so I decided to grab them. They had a copy of It, and I actually already have a copy of this, but I have the hardcover. And quite frankly, this book is already so intimidating to begin with, and my hardback copy is like 10 times more intimidating. I feel like having a little mass market paperback of this makes it feel slightly less intimidating. So yeah, I wanted to get like a cute, to me it's cute. It's a cute little beat up version. So this will be the one I read once I eventually take on this absolute hog of a book. And then they also had a old copy of Night Shift by Stephen King, which I love this cover. So I already also have a copy of this, one of the new versions of it, but I like this cover. So, and it was like $5. So I decided to pick this one up too. It's another like mass market paperback. So I got some old kind of beat up vintage Stephen King's and some unhinged women. And yeah, so successful book trip, if I do say so myself. And then since I was in town, I had to go to Bath and Body Works. I just got a ton of hand sanitizers, but they had these really cute hand sanitizer holders that look like gummy bears. So I got the purple one. They also had yellow, orange, and pink, but they didn't have any pink available. I just happened to see one of the workers wearing it, but I just grabbed the purple one. And I just got a bunch of like little hand sanitizers. Nothing super exciting, but I got those. And then I stopped at TJ Maxx and got some other random stuff. They had this pair of nude pennies on clearance for $24, and they're very comfortable. I put them on. They're like memory foam bottoms. They're very plain, but cheap, on sale, and comfortable. So I grabbed those. Then they had this cute little cardboard notepad thing, which I don't know. I'm a sucker for notepads, so I buy them all the time. So yeah, I bought this to have in the kitchen to write down little notes in. I like the butterflies, super cute. And it was only $5. I have to get the sticker off though. It's kind of annoying that they put the sticker right on top of it. I don't know why they didn't put it at the bottom, but we'll see if I can get that off. And then I got 2 of these little glasses. I love glasses with texture on them and these little balls. I don't know. I love them, and they're iridescent. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but yeah, they only had 2, so I just grabbed those. So that was my little shopping trip. And then I have some packages now, and I'm super excited. One is my Nightworms package, and then this one is a Twisted Retreat package, but it's not the subscription, but it is a book club pick for the Reaper Book Club hosted by Katrina from Katrina Brown. And it is Ling Huan by Zhang, I think. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but this is very pretty. It's like a faux leather, and I really like the mustard tones. The end papers are pretty. It is signed. And, oh, the edges are like gilded. So, I decided to order a copy of this for the book club, but the original cover is also very pretty. So honestly, if I like it, I could see me buying a copy of that one, but we'll see. I'll read this one, see how it goes. Okay, I moved my camera because I felt like I was getting a really weird glare from the window, and I can't really close it because the cats are in there and I feel bad. So, Nightworms package. So, I do already know what books are in this package, and I'm so excited for both of them. I have a feeling at least one of these will be read very soon. I might end up putting one of these on my May TBR. We'll see. So before we get to the books, we got another sample of coffee, which again is a very big sample size that we could probably get like 5 cups out of. This is by Haunted Cups Coffee called It's Alive. And it says it is a dark roast with dark chocolate, nutty, and earthy tones. So I love getting coffee. And then our bag of goodies. So the coffee kind of hinted at it, but the theme of this box is Echoes of Frankenstein. So it's like Frankenstein inspired, which I freaking love. So there's that. Honestly, a perfect theme for me and a perfect theme for like springtime. So I love that. We got a little magnet of a little Frankenstein guy. It says, "Ew, what kind of monster doesn't read?" That's pretty cute. And then a very large sticker, and I really like this sticker. It says Echoes of Frankenstein, and it's black and white with kind of like chalky sketched out images. I really like that. Very big. And then I'm a little confused by this. I almost wonder if the author signature was supposed to be on this. It's just a printout of the cover of the book. So, spoiler for one of the books. But yeah, it's just this. And I kind of feel like the author's signature was supposed to be on this. Because here's the author signature for the other book. So there's that. Then to the books. One is, of course, A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock. The cover to this is stunning, and I love it. It is pretty much like a Frankenstein-inspired story, as you would think. And it follows like 2 husbands who create a daughter. And that's kind of all I know. That's all I'm going to go in with. So I'm really excited for this. I love Frankenstein-inspired books. I love nature stuff. So this really just is a great book for me. I actually also have an e-arc on my NetGalley shelf of this because I did request it because it's a book that I'm interested in, but I never got the chance to actually read the e-arc. So it'll be nice to be able to still read this and like go back and do a review on that and fix my NetGalley ratio. So that's fun. And then the other book we got was Thirst by Marina. I do not know how to say her last name even a little bit, so I'm not gonna try. I'm sorry. This is absolutely stunning. So good. I'd even noticed before, but there's like vampire puncture wounds with like blood coming out. This is a hardcover, and this is a sapphic vampire story. That's all I really know. I have recently heard some people talk about it. I actually just watched Jan's reading vlog where she talks about this, and I guess the first half of the book and the second half of the book are kind of very different, and each follows like one of the women in the relationship. So yeah, I kind of like know to go in expecting that, so hopefully that will fix my expectations in terms of pacing and the change of pace that the second half undergoes. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. It's beautiful and gorgeous, and I hope I love it. Even just like, oh my God, even just both of these spines, I love. So good. Anyways, so that is everything for right now. just all the stuff I bought and spent money on. I am going to carry on reading Boy Parts. I'm going to read a little bit more. I'm going to get up to page 100 or so, and then I'm going to come back and do a reading update. I am currently on page 68, and I'm in like the middle of a chapter. So I'm going to get to page 100 or around there, come back for a reading update. So I'm going to clean up the mess that I just made and lay down, relax, and read. I am on page 111, probably a little bit more than a third way through it, and I'm really enjoying this so far, but this is definitely like not going to be for everybody. So it does follow our main character, Irina, who is a photographer, and yeah, she takes pictures of men in like compromising positions and very, I don't know, like sexually explicit positions and doing sexually explicit stuff. So she gets the opportunity to have some of her work shown at an art gallery, and yeah, that's kind of like the setup of the story, but it's a very character-driven story, and this reminds me so much of the show Skins. If you guys ever watched that, this character is like a character that would be on Skins. It is 100% giving me those vibes, and now it makes me really want to watch Skins. It's been a very long time since I watched that, but it's very, if you don't know what Skins is, it's just very dark, and it's just about people dealing with a lot of dark things. It's pretty much the original Euphoria, but in the UK. So it's these kids dealing with very dark issues like self-harm, exploring their sexuality, drugs, eating disorders, pretty much any type of dark thing you can think of, the characters in Skins are dealing with. And this book doesn't like necessarily hit on all of those topics, but it would definitely fit in with the combination of all of that stuff going on. So I'm really enjoying it. It is very like UK book, which I actually love. I am starting to notice maybe a few like red flags with our main girl, Irina. She definitely has a lot of just like dark things going on with her, and I feel like she's starting to show a lot of signs of being quite manipulative, and almost like she masks a lot as well. Like she might not feel the same, maybe empathy, or just she's just very different, and her brain works very different compared to a lot of other people. Like her and her best friend, it's weird because she doesn't necessarily care about her best friend the way that her best friend cares about her. So it's interesting to kind of notice some of those potential red flags and kind of subtle personality traits that I wonder if are going to become more apparent as the story progresses, or are going to become much more of the leading personality traits of our main character with the story moving forward. I don't know. I don't know where the story is going to go, but I am enjoying it for what it is right now. But it is very much like character driven. Not much has necessarily happened other than really becoming integrated in our character and the scene and environments that she kind of puts herself in, pretty much. Yeah, so anyways, that's my reading update right now. Really enjoying it. It's making me want to rewatch Skins because it's been over a decade since I watched that, probably. I'm gonna keep reading. Probably one more reading update and we'll see. where it goes from there. It is the next day, and I am on page 199, so I have a little bit less than 100 pages left because this book is only 289 pages. So thoughts so far, I'm still really enjoying it. Not much has really happened, to be honest. So yeah, this is definitely for somebody who likes books that just kind of focus on characters. We've just kind of gotten more of our main character's backstory. She's going through her old albums and all of her old work from when she was in art school for preparation for this like galley that she's going to be a part of. So we're kind of like just slowly getting pieces of her story through her artwork. But I do think in the last couple pages, I think that the story is about to take a turn, and we might learn quite a bit more dark stuff going on with our main character. So yeah, it's interesting, but nothing very crazy has happened really as of yet. It's still just kind of giving slice of life peep into a somewhat messed up character that would be on Skins. So it's just kind of been a lot more of that so far. I do hope that it gets a little bit more, I don't know, crazy or something. I do hope something else happens in this last little bit. I would love if it went into totally unhinged territory, but I don't know if it's gonna go that far, but we'll see. I'm gonna finish this and come back with my final thoughts. So I finished Boy Parts by Eliza Clark, and I ended up really enjoying this one. Now, I will say I can definitely see why people wouldn't like this. So our main character is not likable. She is not a likable character. You're not really rooting for her at any point. As a matter of fact, you're almost rooting against her in certain instances. She's just like, she's not really a good friend, and she just has questionable personality traits. She's got a lot of flags. She's got a lot of issues, but she was still so compelling and so interesting to read about. And I enjoyed, for the most part, reading from her because it was just very different and very unique. And I ended up really enjoying it. Now, I will say the ending, just based on what people talk about with this book, I thought it would be a little bit more unhinged and go a little bit further than it did. And don't get me wrong, there's some moments that go pretty far, but as somebody who reads a lot of horror and reads quite a bit of messed up, unhinged stuff, this really didn't go as far as I guess I thought it would and expected it to, but it still gets into the unhinged territory for sure. But I think I just wanted a little bit more, and I want a little bit more of it to last longer because it kind of takes until the end to really kind of flip in a way. There's like little flips along the way and little moments of, okay, well, what's going on here along the way, but it's very much, I don't know, it's very much kind of slow building in my opinion, of course. Okay, my battery died, so I had to go change my battery. I don't really remember what I was saying before I got cut off, but Boy Parts. Ended up really enjoying it. I think it was a very unique story, a somewhat twisted, slice of life, character-driven, slightly unhinged story. Very lit fic with maybe a skosh, a little dash, a little sprinkle of horror, but much more lit fic, in my opinion, of a very messed up character. So I'm giving it 4 stars. It didn't quite... wow, I just saw a huge flash of lightning right in front of me. 4 stars, didn't quite get to the 5-star territory. It's a high 4 stars. This is one I would consider rereading. So, moving on to the next story. I don't have it with me right now, but it's upstairs. And I'm going to start reading Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. So, I'm just going to get right into it. Okay, so I am, let's see what page, on 111. I'm like in the middle of chapter 3. I'm already, I don't know, like 35% of the way into this book, maybe 40%. It's not very long. It's only 247 pages, so it's not a very long book at all. So it reads really fast. Okay, this is not at all what I expected, although I didn't necessarily have any expectations other than it was going to be weird. But this book is so much darker than I thought it was going to be. I'm confused because anybody I've heard talk about this book has not talked about that this content was in the book. So I think it's like really important to know that there is like child essay in it, and it deals with a lot of child like abuse in general and just a lot of trauma surrounding that. So like you should know that. Otherwise, is it weird? Honestly, not really. Like, I guess kind of. But so far, anything that's been a little bit like weird or quirky, I guess, I feel like tracks back to a child experiencing trauma and a child being very imaginative. That being said, I don't know if in this last 60%, I don't know if it's going to get very, very weird from there. But the first 2 chapters, we are following our main character when she is like 11 and 12 years old. She's in like 5th and 6th grade, and she's experiencing trauma and abuse. And she kind of seems to deal with that, and what's the word I'm looking for? Cope with that by kind of having what seems to be like a pretty vivid imagination, I guess. It's not like super off the wall either, but this like little guy is like a little stuffed animal that she carries, and he's supposed to be an alien from a different planet, and he like gives her magic powers. But it's like, honestly, so far, really sad. So far, this book has been so much more sad than I expected. I just didn't realize at all that it was going to be like dark and sad, and that's what it has been so far. As far as if I'm enjoying it, I think the writing is really good, and the way that the child is being portrayed to kind of deal with the trauma and cope with the trauma is like heartbreaking but very important, and I am enjoying it so far as much as like you can enjoy a story like this. I think it's very well done and very well written. It is originally translated it was originally written in Japanese, and this is translated to English. Yeah, so far I'm just really surprised by the content of this book. It's not really super weird as of right now. The beginning of chapter 3, we have had a time jump, and our main character is now 35, I believe, 34 or 35 years old. So we're going to, I'm assuming, continue to follow her in now her adult life. So yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes now. Because yeah, now I really have no idea what to expect. I have annotated a couple of things. I don't know if you can see. I make my annotations really small, but I have annotated some stuff that I thought was really interesting, and some of the lines that I just really liked the way that they were written. This isn't even like a hold the press type of line, but it just kind of like hit me a little bit. It just says, "It's really hard to put into words things that are just a little bit not okay." And I liked that line. And then I marked a line that said, "How long did I have to survive for? Would I ever be able to live without constantly trying to survive?" So if those 2 lines say anything to you, it is that so far this book is sad and a little bit heartbreaking. But I hope it turns around. Not that I'm not liking it right now, but I just thought it'd be a little bit, I guess I did have a slight expectation. I did expect that this book was going to be a little bit more on the fun side. I thought it'd be a little bit more goofy, weird, and so far it's just sad. So yeah, that's my update so far. I made some taquitos. So I'm about to eat my taquitos, and then I'm going to continue reading this. I'm going to try to finish this tonight because, like I said, it reads really fast. I don't know if I'll be able to finish it tonight, so we'll see. I will probably check in one more time before final thoughts. I'm hoping that there's a reason to check in between now and final thoughts. So we'll see if that happens, because you guys know me. So yeah, I'm gonna eat and then read and then check back. So I went ahead and just finished Earthlings by Sayaka Murata because I didn't really have anything else to really add. The moment that it maybe changed a little bit was like the last 15 pages. So how do I feel about this book? Again, it's not at all what I really expected it to be. Does it get weird? A little bit, but like my weird tolerance is pretty high. So take that with a grain of salt. But the last like 15 pages or so is where it really kind of got a bit off the wall. But at the same time, what stands out the most with this book is that it is sad and it is bleak, and all of our characters are so traumatized that I don't find a lot of the stuff weird with how they deal with their trauma, more so than I find it sad. So this book isn't really weird to me, it's sad. And that doesn't mean I didn't like it. I actually really enjoyed the first 2 chapters, but again, heavy trigger warnings on that. Some of the stuff that the characters said was absolutely heart-wrenching, but so powerful at the same time. So I appreciated the writing and I liked the story. Actually, in the first 2 chapters, it got a little clunky for me and the pacing was weird in the middle. And pretty much like chapter 3 up until the last 15 pages, I didn't feel as connected to the story or the characters. I didn't like the pacing in the majority of this book. In the biggest chunk of this book, I didn't like the pacing. But I did like the last like 15 pages. I think it tied up nice and I liked the overall conclusion. And I do like the themes that this book goes for, but at the same time, they're very heavy-handed and got a little bit repetitive. The whole theme is really one, surrounding this abuse that people face and as children and the trauma with that. So trauma around abuse, but also kind of societal standards. And it's really, these people feel like aliens because they don't want to be a part of society in the sense that women are supposed to have babies and that's kind of it. And that's pretty much like the themes of this book, and it's very obvious and it's quite heavy-handed, so it got a little bit repetitive. It's like I agree with those themes, but it didn't feel very complex. Like I liked the approach, but it just lasted too long to have as big of an impact. I liked the metaphors that we were going for and the way that some of the stuff was explained, but then it just kind of got over-explained and overused. So yeah, I don't know. This was an interesting one, and it's a tough one to rate because, again, I did like a lot of it. Well, not a lot of it. Like, I'm trying to think of it mathematically. I probably really enjoyed 20% of this book, maybe 30% of this book, or like 33, like a third. And then the rest of it was a bit dragged and I didn't like the pacing. So I think I'm going to give it 3 stars. It's like a higher 3 stars. I did debate on giving it a 3.5, but I think I'm just going to give it a 3 star. It is on the higher end of a 3 star. It's the type of 3 star I'm going to keep on my shelves. So there's that. And as far as recommending it, if you like really sad, depressing stories that will probably make you sad every time you think about them, I recommend it. Finished Earthlings, finally. I mean, this was on my 24 for 24, so I'm proud and happy that I did finish it. And it really wasn't horrible. It just like really was not what I expected it to be. But I did annotate some stuff, so that's all good stuff. Anyways, I'm feeling a little bit unsatisfied, quite honestly, finishing off with that book. So we're just gonna trudge along and pick up another one. So we're gonna pick up another book that I have heard one person talk about. It has less than 100 reviews on Goodreads, which is like the most used book platform. So not at all very known or talked about, it seems like. And that is Tear by Erica McKean. This was explained as being weird. So that's what we're going for here. I don't know anything else. Again, I'm going into it blind. So I'm going to start this pretty soon. I'm actually about to eat breakfast because I'm starving. And then I have to film my Escape the Readathon TBR, which would have gone up the video right before this one. So if you haven't watched that video, go ahead and give it a watch. So I have to film that video. And then we have a bunch of stuff we have to do today. My aunt and my husband's dad, so my father-in-law and my aunt's birthday were both this past Thursday, 2 days ago. And we're kind of doing stuff to celebrate that today. Yeah. Birthday stuff tonight. So I probably won't really read much today. So I'm really hoping that I can finish this book by the time that this vlog is planned to go up, hopefully. So I'm going to have to really hone in and read a lot tomorrow and throughout the week. So anyways, I will get back to you guys when I have at least started Tear and have somewhat of a synopsis to give you guys. So yeah, talk to you then. I am about 30% of the way into Tear on page 83, and it's just under 300 pages. It's like 295 pages, so I'm around 30% of Tear. And oh my god, like, first of all, when I opened it and saw the quote from Frankenstein, green flag. I was like, this is gonna be good. The very first paragraph, the very first paragraph of chapter 1, because there was a prologue. Prologue was good. But the very first paragraph of chapter 1 was just so delicious. Just so delicious. The writing is so amazing to me. I love the writing so much. But let me tell you what this book's about before I get all into that. So I decided to read the back after I got into the book to see what they say that this book is about, because it's a little bit I guess confusing in the beginning if you go into it blind. So I'm going to read the back of this because I feel like the synopsis is so wonderfully written and kind of just, I don't want to say ambiguous, but just kind of veiled enough that I feel like it gives you a good idea of how the narrative feels. So it says, Frances is quiet and reclusive, so much so that her upstairs roommates sometimes forget she exists. Isolated in the basement and on the brink of graduating from university, Frances herself starts to question the realities of her own existence. She can't remember there being a lock on the door at the top of the basement stairs, and yet when she turns the knob, the door won't open. She can't tell the difference between her childhood memories, which bloomed like flowers in the dark basement, and her dreams. Worse still, she can't ignore the very real tapping sound now coming incessantly, violently, threatening to break through her bedroom wall. And it just sounds so good. And here's a blurb. It says, Tear pulls at the threads of a fraying border between the real and the monstrous uncanny. McKean's prose is taut and evocative. The novel simmers with repressed rage, then confronts us with its thrilling and terrifying transmutation. A fearless and unforgettable debut. This book, I am like so enjoying right now. Again, the writing is just so delicious. I love it so much. It's that type of descriptive writing that I love, where it's not just like describing the colors of things or like the textures or the surroundings. It is describing things on such a visceral level. You know, when like you experience stuff, but you've never really consciously experienced it, and then somebody kind of says it and puts it into words, and you're like, yes, that's exactly what it is. This book, the descriptions are like that for me, where it's like, how do you think to describe something like that? And I want to eat it up. I have already tabbed so many things just for the simple reason of the way that it's written is just like scratching my brain. Let me read a couple lines. I don't know, it's just these words. Oh, I just love. She didn't know she was hurting or if she was looking for the source of hurting. She felt the slow, blank hollow before a hurt. She felt the cold, tugging ache that hides just behind pain. Chapter, page 11, immediately tapping. And like this, she felt suddenly tired, worn. The sleepless night caught up to her. She felt the weight all at once of her skin on her bones, her clothes on her body, and her backpack shield-like on her lap. Like, feeling the weight of her skin on her bones. I love that description so much. So the writing, I am absolutely eating up. And then the story itself, I am really enjoying, but it is kind of very literary, and I feel like it's not very ambiguous to me, but at the same time, I feel like what's kind of going on and being described can be interpreted in maybe a couple of different ways. So we're really kind of just following Frances, again, in the situation where she finds herself being stuck in her basement room. But in the midst of this, she's also kind of thinking back on a lot of things that happened to her as a young child. Not like to her, but we're just getting like flashes of her childhood memories, or potential childhood memories, I guess, of her kind of growing up with her grandparents and her mother, who was single for a little while. And there's a really, really interesting dynamic between her and her mother that I feel like is alluding to and kind of brings up the theme of complicated relationships between not just like mothers and daughters, but a young child with a parent who may not be as present as they could be. Even if they're there, that just because a parent is around doesn't mean that they're necessarily present. So it's just like, it's giving me chills. I really don't know where the story's going, but it is definitely very much character driven, very much kind of like theme driven, but the themes, in my opinion, can be interpreted. I feel like there's a lot of conversation happening subtly around depression, and again, around those complicated relationships with parents, a parent coming into your life later on that might feel much more like a stranger rather than a true parent, and then the parent that you grew up with feeling very distant from you. And I don't know, it's so far, I'm absolutely eating this up. I'm absolutely loving it. I am in the middle of part 1. I kind of flipped through the pages, and the book is split up into 3 parts. So I am curious why and like how and what those lead into. So yeah, so far, loving it. Loving the writing, enjoying the themes that I'm getting out of the book and the approach, the narrative style. It's very it's kind of very distant. You feel quite a bit distant, and I think that that's intentional because I feel like the character feels very distant from her life and from her being, you know, from her consciousness. I think she's very distant from that. So you almost experience that yourself as a reader, yet I'm really connecting with what the character is also going through. So I'm so glad I started reading this. Yeah, so great update so far. I hope that it keeps the momentum going because it feels very high stars currently. So I hope it keeps the momentum. And if this ends up being a 5-star, I will be so happy. It feels like it could right now. I don't really want to say it. I don't want to jinx it because who knows, there's still a lot of book to go. But yeah. that's the reading update so far. So I'm gonna keep reading. Okay, so I need to give you guys a reading update because I am devouring this book. So I need to check in because I want to try to finish this tonight. So, Tear, Erica McKean. I am on page 175. I think I have about 100 pages left. And I have just started part 2. So I'm like on chapter 3 of part 2. The way that the first part ended was crazy. It was insane. I loved it. Oh, sorry, I should hold it up. So it did get very weird and like bizarre in the best of ways. I loved it. I loved the imagery that was portrayed. You felt just the lines, you just like didn't know what was going on, but like in a good way. Like not that you didn't know what was going on, like it was confusing, but you were just like, what's happening to me, to this character? What's happening? And I wrote down, I try to take notes as I'm reading if I'm feeling very strong emotions. And I wrote disorienting. I think that is the number one word I would use to describe this book. It is very disorienting. So yeah, not confusing, but disorienting. And just for me, I am experiencing this book viscerally. I am having visceral reactions. There was a moment in the book that made me tear up. I wrote unhinged, but in a devastating sort of way. So it is unhinged, but the reasons it's unhinged is also a little bit devastating, a little bit heartbreaking, yet so illuminating. Like, this book is really difficult to describe, but I'm feeling a lot and I'm really loving it. And I don't know that this update has given you guys any more information, so I'm sorry if this update feels pointless, but just so good, so good. And I cannot wait to see where the rest of the story goes because there's still so much left. There's still so much left. If the story ended at part 1, I would be okay with that. It would have ended in a very ambiguous way, but I almost would have been okay with that. So I'm just like, what else is gonna happen? I mean, that's really all I can think to say right now, honestly. This is a story that I feel like if I sit here and talk too long, I'm just gonna babble and it's not gonna make sense and I'm gonna keep repeating myself. So I'm gonna keep reading and I will just come back with my final thoughts and leave it at that. So I finished Tear, and I already talked about this book so much, I feel like, but enjoyed it. It did change a little bit in the last parts. It did lean into horror a lot more in the second half, and especially kind of the last part. I will say the last part, I had to kind of stop myself from trying to make connections and trying to understand what was going on, because at a certain point, it does get a little bit more, I guess, like ambiguous, and like I just kind of had to let it happen. I just had to let the story happen. I had to stop myself from trying to analyze it too much, but I did really like it. I liked the direction it went in. It was very interesting, and some of the imagery, some of the body horror in this book was pretty wicked, and I enjoyed it. I had a really great time. I did end up tabbing this book so much. I just really, really enjoyed the writing style and the narrative style and a lot of what it was kind of in my mind and in my eyes talking about, which, speaking of, I kind of mentioned how I felt like a lot of the parts were subtly talking about depression. And after I did my last update, I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw this video of this person, and they go on to explain depersonalization, which I am like about to go down the rabbit hole over because it's so interesting, so devastating, but so interesting. And now part of me like feels like maybe this was partially a character dealing with depersonalization, but I don't know fully. Again, it's a type of book that can be interpreted, but the interpretations I got, I was really enjoying and I liked, and this book is super underrated in my opinion. Check this book out if you want a story that is very literary with good body horror and very character driven and very unique and at times bizarre, and overall just really interesting and really different. I recommend it a lot. I'm giving it 5 stars. So happy I read it. So to recap the books I read, Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. Really did enjoy this. Honestly, I'm giving it 4 stars, but honestly it's kind of like a 4.5. I'm just not going to change it at this point because I just finished doing my wrap up, so I'm not going to change it. But it is a very high 4 star. Really enjoyed it. Earthlings by Sayaka Murata ended up being so different than what I expected, but I really did enjoy the themes and some of the imagery and some of the writing, but I think this was too long for what it was and just became a little bit too repetitive and a little too heavy-handed with the themes. But I like the way it ended. It does get pretty unhinged and bizarre at the end, but again, that unhinged and slightly bizarre, weird moments are very much linked to trauma and very significant, devastating trauma. So very dark read, will definitely stick with you no matter what you think of the book, you will think about it, you know? So whether it's a 1 or a 5 star for people, you're gonna nonstop kind of think about this. And then of course Tear, Erica McKean, 5 stars. So I would say overall, this was a really great reading vlog. I'm really glad I kind of pursued the weird girl lit that was speaking to me, and yeah, I had a great time. Great books. So that is going to be everything for today's video. If you made it to this point in the video, leave me like a teardrop emoji down below for Tear. As always, thank you so much for spending some of your time with me while I sit down and talk about books. If you haven't yet, please give the video a like, subscribe for future content, turn on the bell notification, all the fun YouTube things that help your girl out, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye!